What really bothers me about Dr. Mike is I really gravitated towards him because he was the first fitness influencer, somebody who is like really big, really strong, really knowledgeable, to sit down and make content about fat people that was humanizing. You know, he's like, I understand that it's tough to lose weight. It's simple, but it's tough. And there's a lot of food noise and you still want to push to be better and you want to make small steps towards success. I respect the fuck out of that. But then when I watched this conversation with Dr. Mike, some of the things that he was saying about genetics and Hitler were just fucking crazy to me, and it was such a turn off. And also he's bald. Yeah,
random waifu Japanese girls that just couldn't wait for you to return.
All right, well now I'm sold back in on Dr. Mike. All right, Sussy Bacos. I'm curious about this video because I used to love Dr. Mike Israetel, and then I saw him talk to the other Dr. Mike, and it was a very interesting conversation. The other Dr. Mike, I'll put him on the screen in a second, is like a really intelligent guy, and I love him. He fought in Creator Clash. He fought in Creator Clash. This Dr. Mike. But there's some weird kind of eugenicist stuff going on with Dr. Mike Israetel that like turns me off. It's just weird. You know, it's hard to describe. I react to their interview, so if you want to find that and watch that, like be my guest. I'll try to remember to link it. I probably will forget. But it really turned me off to him a lot. But let's see what this is. This is has Dr. Mike lost the plot? Let's see what we got here.
Is Dr. Mike going off the rails?
Whoa.
I would just talk to ChatGPT.
That's crazy. Holy moly. Sorry, I couldn't hear it for a second. That was weird.
Is Dr. Mike going off the rails?
Maybe. I would just talk to ChatGPT probably all day long.
Dude, ChatGPT is crazy. I had like a stint where I was engaging too much with like AI too. It's like, it can be like a little dangerous because sometimes it gives you completely different answers. We watched that thing the other day and it was just completely different answer.
In an Uber, I bled into his car.
I'm bigger and stronger than Mike Menzer.
I actually have zero shame whatsoever.
What's funny is I picked a person up for Uber one time and they bled all over my car, and I brought them to the hospital, and I didn't really get out with them and help them inside. And the guy's like, "You're just gonna let your girlfriend go in there by yourself?" I'm like, "No, that was not my girlfriend. I'm an Uber driver." And he's like, "Holy fuck, why did you even take them?" That's like you went like rapidly into a different direction.
Ever.
Has the funny bald guy from Renaissance Periodization and one of the smartest minds in the YouTube fitness scene finally lost the plot completely? It all started with his recent skin removal surgery, thoughts about doing more liposuction, glorifying AI, and a supposed next generation of steroids. His beef with...
It's so interesting that the conversation about the AI... It's so weird. Like, you have people who are either really in love with it or hate it a lot. We don't have the balance that we need in that conversation, at least in my opinion, because the balance that we really need is going to be something along the lines of it's here and we have to accept it, but you shouldn't like love it. I don't know. It's cool. But some people either like idolize it or they fucking hate it and they're just completely resistant to it. And I think in both instances it can be very unhealthy. Because if you idolize it, you're going to overuse it. And you're going to trust it too much. And it's still a very new concept and can give you misinformation. But if you hate it, you'll never learn it. And then you're going to be fucked and out of a job. And especially with more left-leaning people, I think that they're the ones that are more, they're the ones that are significantly more apprehensive about the technology. But again, I think it's going to be like a new calculator. It's going to be like our calculator. You're going to go to school and you're going to learn about it. And you're going to learn about the fundamentals, and then you're going to use AI to implement those fundamentals.
Puri Prisoner has been reignited, and I've been getting a ton of comments asking me to go over this in its entirety, so I will. Now, this isn't a hate video on Dr. Mike. In fact, I love the Renaissance Periodization channel, and I respect the bald gentleman more than I'd like to admit, but I wanted to dive into his mind, so here we go.
Maybe this video will make me like Dr. Mike again, because it's hard for me to, because I just feel like I saw so much fucking crazy. I don't know. It's too much for me, man. I saw too many like less than almost scary perspectives.
Go back in
and like a lack of fundamental understanding. You know, like I remember I remember one of the things that he said was there's this one of the things that really turned me off to Dr. Mike is watching his conversation with the other Dr. Mike, and in that conversation they had a talk about Hitler came up. And he's like, you can't even say something like maybe there are some good things about Hitler without people getting upset. And he's a smart guy, and it's so interesting that you could be so ignorant when you say something like that, because we are not just pure logic machines. We are emotional communicators. And that's a fact. Everybody is an emotional communicator to some extent. And I think that the reason that people weightlift is so that they can try to get in control of their emotional communication. Because I know that when I go to the gym, I'm balder than him, but I'm not as muscular. It helps me regulate my emotion of mostly anger. So we understand that. But like when you ask a question like that, when you take somebody who is demonic, who is the reason that 10 million people were genocided, and you say, well, maybe he wasn't all bad, you're adding a level of humanization consideration to him that is unproductive and can be used as like a dog whistle. The opposite question you could ask to have the same conversation was, why did he get elected in the first place? Why did he rise to power in the first place? That's the same as saying, like, was some of the things that he said all bad? It's the same, because what got him to rise to power? It was the economic destruction of Germany. He was some like policies that people agreed with, things like that. But that we're not sitting here and we're not having a conversation that humanizes him. We're having a conversation that understands him. The other one is like a dog whistle of like, he wasn't so bad. That's what's being communicated. And the fact that he was so jarred by that question to me, I was like, I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense to me that you would be so jarred by that question.
March, Dr. Mike performed a skin removal surgery with the primary goal of losing his chronic love handles and stubborn fat cells from that area, mostly for the aesthetics.
Is that cheating, dude? Is that cheating for your bodybuilding competition?
Of it, because
I think he quit bodybuilding, didn't he?
Mike is already so beautiful.
Like he bodybuilds, but like professional, because it's very difficult. It's very taxing on the body.
That his only downside was loose skin hanging from his lower back. In reality, though, it was because Mike has said that he couldn't seem to get shredded down there, which has cost him success in bodybuilding and potentially costing him his pro card.
It'll stretch out to there, whereas my hip bones are like 1/2 of the way in. That is a ton of extra fat cells put on, a ton of extra skin gained.
Now, hear me out. Mike is super open about his perception of his own body, and I respect the hell out of him for it. He doesn't sugarcoat, he doesn't censor anything, and he tells you exactly how and what it is, for good and for bad. I am personally against any type of surgery done exclusively for aesthetics, and I think it shows an unhealthy body image.
Probably, but I also feel like, as much as I respect bodybuilders, bodybuilding is an unhealthy practice, right? Does he still compete? Oh, maybe I'm up to date. Bodybuilding is an unhealthy practice. Like, and I'm not saying that I'm unhealthy, so let's just be clear. I'm not sitting here saying I'm better or anything, but it is unhealthy. Like, you're not just like trying to get fit. These people are taking a tremendous amounts of steroids and putting themselves under like intense situations where like they're cutting and they're gaining, and it's very intense on your body. And the amount of food that they have to consume, it can be very difficult to eat healthy enough for it to not like destroy you. So like, I mean, bodybuilding in general, it's just interesting. Like, oh, I wouldn't get a cosmetic surgery. It's not unhealthy, but it's like bodybuilding is unhealthy. Like it on your body, it can be incredibly stressful. Competitive bodybuilding. So,
but it's not my place to tell others what to do with their own body. Now, he did explain his reason for the skin removal surgery as being due to bad choices Mike has made in the past, like bulking up too much or being misguided on the pursuit of muscle gain.
The mistake was to not know physiology. I had so much cellular multiplication that, especially just because of my genetics, a huge fraction of my body fat was stored in my love handles and in my lower back,
which caused him to end up having more fat cells and more loose skin in that area of his lower back and hips. And regardless of how lean he got, he could not get rid of it. Yeah,
I mean, for these shows, these guys have to cut down to like 4% body fat. That's crazy. And again, I'm unhealthy. I'm not sitting here. I'm not saying that bodybuilding is unhealthy because I'm on a fucking cope where like, no, actually, it's really healthy to be a fat fuck. I'm just saying that like it's like the opposite of my 600-pound life, right? Like it's the opposite extreme.
Inside the claim that he stored a lot of water down there, which has gotten a lot of heat from the bodybuilding community because it was probably that he just didn't get lean enough for competition. Regardless, he got the surgery and it took a long time to recover from it. He even made a whole video going over his recovery process, and it didn't look pleasant, to say the least. Now, is it an issue that one of the biggest educational channels in the fitness scene does this? I would argue yes. Does he
really? I don't think it would
necessarily promote this type of surgery? No, if anything, I think it got people to actually back off because of how grotesque and painful it looks. Several people did make
does look painful
videos about it though, but it does seem quite two-sided, because many of those same guys did nearly bully the guy into getting said surgery to fix the issue, and then when he got it, they called him out for saying that it's body.
Yeah, they Greg Doucette. I'm not a big fan of Greg Doucette.
Dysmorphia or ill advice. Still, I don't think getting skin removal surgery for bodybuilding is a smart move. improve, but again, if you want to be competitive in that sport, you kind of have to do things which affect your physical and mental health negatively. So I don't see how this is much different from going on a fat cycle just to get ready for a show, even if this is a bit more silly and much more invasive. But okay, let's just move away from that and see a more recent controversy, being that he made a video about the next generation of steroids. Supposedly,
Interesting. I mean, there's always a demand for those types of conversation. There's people who want to do it. And to be honest with you, when it comes to content about performance-enhancing drugs, you're probably better off getting some more available information about how to do it safely and correctly. Although I don't know if that's what that video is. Than you are figuring it out at like your local gym from the guy who's like fucking on like, you know, way too much test. Right?
Without any side effects. And this one I am highly skeptical about. Dr. Mike mentioned a study recently done on monkeys where they gave them 2 drugs which inhibit the hormones myostatin and activin A, which both work on reducing the amount of muscle you can build negatively. Now, I'm not going to bore you with all the statistics. They basically divided the monkeys into 4 groups, and the group that was given both of these drugs, called trevogrumab and garetosmab, alongside the very famous semaglutide, which you can find in Ozempic, not only lost the most fat out of all the 4 groups, but they also built a tremendous amount of muscle, whereas all the other groups actually lost muscle. And mind you, monkeys don't lift weights.
Yeah. But isn't there a different element there for you to gravitate to? Like, you know, in this study, and that is like the keeping physically active enough to like offset whatever negative impact there would be from whatever drug that you're on. Maybe I'm on a cope because I'm on a GLP-1 and it seems like that's part of the conversation. But like, you know, I feel like if you're physically fit or if you're active and you're trying to keep your muscle, you're stimulating your muscle. You know, the monkeys, I imagine they're not really stimulating their muscles, they're just kind of hanging out. If you're stimulating your muscle, wouldn't that potentially reduce the potential for you to lose weight or lose muscle at a greater rate?
But if we do, it's usually under sanctioned rules in powerlifting. So they built a ton of muscle just by existing while taking these drugs. Now, Mike said that these drugs will likely come without any side effects, and that...
Well, that seems crazy. Because I see that he's like I'm pretty sure he's a vaccine skeptic. How are you going to say that the drug's going to come without side effects? But I'm pretty sure he's a vaccine skeptic. So like those two things don't fit together at all.
Human trials are currently ongoing to assess the effectiveness of these drugs. And I think that's great because these drugs could be given out to the elderly who lack any physical function,
that's true,
cancer patients, or perhaps other hospitalized.
But even if there are downfalls, if you're 80 years old, I mean, like what's your downfall at that point, right? Like you're old as fuck, you might as well.
Patients who are losing muscle rapidly for whatever reason. That is awesome. But for those of you who know a lot about biochemistry and the likes, this just sounds like a too good to be true story. As one, these drugs are monoclonal antibodies, meaning they probably have to be injected and won't come as a pill. Secondly, these drugs might also increase cardiac hypertrophy as well, which means your heart muscle grows thicker, and that might actually decrease its ability to pump blood, like we see with the disease hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Thirdly, they won't necessarily be free of side effects.
Well, it's so interesting because I've seen Dr. Mike is like a really big proponent of like pushing of like really heavily pushing GLP-1s for especially fat people. And I think part of that's because I think he genuinely doesn't think most people are capable, intelligent enough to be capable of, dealing with food noise in a more productive way, which I get it. But like I don't know what the negative outcomes are of GLP-1s, but there has to be some kind of, I mean, there's got to be some kind of, it still hasn't been studied enough to be super confident in it. I mean, solid, but...
especially long-term, like we see with steroids. One thing is cardiac hypertrophy, but there's also the higher risk of injuries to passive tissues like ligaments and tendons, which are also very common among steroid users. It's a bit of wishful thinking, yes, but apparently 77% of the people who partook in those human trials after taking all 3 medications experienced adverse side effects, and 1 out of 10 experienced so-called serious side effects, while 28% of all participants dropped out. which does sound quite scary. And as things are right now, these drugs probably aren't getting passed as they are, but it's still really cool to think that we could make drugs that cause you to gain muscle without doing anything and losing fat.
Yeah, well, that makes sense that if you were on something that makes it so you don't have to do anything, all your muscles get stimulated. So your penor, I imagine, would also get bigger, which is great, but your heart might get bigger. And I don't really understand why exactly. It's not cool for your heart to get bigger, because you'd think that's fucking cool. Oh, your heart's getting bigger. That's cool, right? Like it's more powerful, but that's a bad one. So I feel like that's probably bad. That's probably going to drastically reduce your lifespan, unless I guess you could take some kind of drug that offsets it by specifically targeting your heart and making it smaller. No idea how that would happen, but that's got to fuck you up.
Two of the biggest health.
I had a lot of negative side effects. You got an impacted colon? That's so funny. From GLP-1, Ryan. That's funny because yeah. Yes, that makes sense to me. The GLP-1 like really slows down your shit, and like I'm on it, and like it's hard to poop. The benefit for me is that I'm also on metformin because I'm diabetic, right? So it's for my diabetes, not just like a weight loss thing. And so that makes me poop. And so I usually don't have too much of an issue with my poops. You know, I'm pretty decent on it. But like my wife, when she first went on Zepbound, she's off it now because we're on our fertility journey. But when she first went on Zepbound, she was like horrible. We almost had to go to the hospital because she couldn't poop, and she was really she was fucked up, man. She was fucked up. So it's just it's interesting, like everybody's relationship with this stuff. But again, that's a pretty big side effect. I told my cousin he's going on Zepbound. That I said like, yo, listen, you have to like go on, like get some kind of like a Miralax or something, or you're gonna get fucking hurt. Like unironically, like take Miralax.
Problems across the globe being faced right now in any age group. Now, I gotta say, I'm generally opposed to medication of anything that can be completely fixed through lifestyle intervention alone.
Me too, for the most part. Kind of. Like that's yes and no. Actually, Dr. Mike had a perspective on this that I agreed with more. That's why I'm gonna just regurgitate his. I remember watching it like a year or so ago. But like, if you have an issue that can be fixed through lifestyle, you should still go on medication because it's not going to be quick enough to make it beneficial. I have diabetes, right? And so like one of the negative impacts of that is obviously bad health, but also low energy. And so like if I was like, yeah, you know what, I could just diet and exercise. Well, I could. Obviously, I should be, and I'm finally doing that. But if I just decided that I was going to do it's just not going to be fast enough to have the type of impact my body needs to be healthy. I'm going to be less healthy because like I'm fucked up. Should I be able to wean myself off of it? Of course, you should get off of that stuff eventually as you wean yourself off. But like you have to be practical. You know, it's very unlikely that most people that are like diabetic are going to be able to just make drastic lifestyle choices that are going to, you know, remove their diabetes, or else they wouldn't be diabetic in the first place.
Unless, like I said, it's absolutely necessary, and I definitely wouldn't want drugs like these out on the open market, as Dr. Mike insinuates. But again, they could be very viable for specific patient scenarios, or for old people who could live another 10 to 15 years but have the physical capacity of a rock. They definitely shouldn't be used as anabolics though, even if the side effects short-term aren't as bad. We don't know the long-term effects, even though that's why we do these human trials.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Like, unfortunately, you're not going to know the long-term effects until people start doing them. And you know, you might as well let people consensually do them themselves, let them make their own decision. If bodybuilders and powerlifters and whatever want to be the ones that test this for us, I guess more power to you.
I just don't think putting drugs out there that can help you grow muscle faster than anabolics is generally gonna make society better, and it's definitely not gonna fix any of the issues currently ongoing in the fitness and bodybuilding industry. Though it might make
probably like a lot of young people are gonna go on it. Like you see a lot of people already that are like you know, kind of hurting, like sacrificing their longevity for like these short-term gains that could potentially be really fucked up for them. You know?
Then worse. Mike has also talked very openly about other drugs like MK677, and he recently had an event where he supposedly broke down crying over a conversation with ChatGPT.
I have in the past week and a half had, depending on how you count them, 2 to 4 episodes of bawling to my ChatGPT app on my phone.
Wow.
Like therapy-wise?
He made a video going over...
Was he playing basketball with it, or was he like crying? It was like a therapy appointment. I mean, I guess that's something that you could use ChatGPT for, is like some kind of therapy, but I feel like it's so unproductive, no? Like, isn't that kind of like unproductive? I don't know. It takes away a human job, but can it truly understand you? I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter if it does, as long as it thinks it does. I would be, since it doesn't have a robust, literal understanding of human beings, and it just emulates a human being, I don't know if I would trust it to be able to deal with a complex scenario like that. You know, but maybe, I think at least right now.
Why you should take nicotine for fat loss, and he destroyed functional patterns, which is a cult built on pseudoscience, so that's actually a good thing. But the reason why I think people perceive Dr. Mike as having lost it is because, well, he's a weird guy. He's a weird guy.
He's a weird guy. He's a fucking gooner, too. You know, he's jacking off all the time.
With a big platform and a PhD. I'm a weird guy too, and if I were to walk around and saying stuff that I probably should keep to myself, then people would think I'm weird too. Mike says pretty much anything he thinks, or at least that's the way it seems. And the reason he does so, it could be to catch your attention, or because...
Well, it's probably just who he is, and I think we're at a time where people are appreciating more than ever, like genuine people. You know? So, like, they're like, oh, you know what? This guy's fucking weird, but he's genuine. And then there's also pockets of communities who exist. Like, there's probably a lot of gym goers that are fucking gooners, like, realistically speaking. I wouldn't doubt that at all. I mean, there's fucking, these dudes are jacking off all the time, man. You kidding me? They're fucking taking all these drugs. It probably makes them horny as hell. And when you're getting more fit, you're fucking horny as hell. So
that's just the way he prefers to communicate. Yeah,
plus it's really well known in the fitness communities that like femboys are like #1 delicacy. So you got like that going on as well. You know what I mean? That's just a fact. You guys don't have to look it up.
Dr. Mike has some bad takes, but so does pretty much everyone. And
True.
In the fitness industry, people love to nitpick, especially if you're a supposed expert, which Mike is. Though he's not always right about training, nutrition, PEDs, or even bodybuilding. He even said so himself that he sucks at bodybuilding, and his colleague Jared said that he was uncoachable.
I said, Mike, you're the worst person that I've ever coached because you hate bodybuilding. He's bad at it. He's the worst. Because he will not do any of that shit. He doesn't like it.
Which honestly is part of the reason why he couldn't get that pro card. Regardless,
I mean, that probably is what it is. You gotta really love something like that to get a fucking pro card. I feel like you gotta like make your whole life about it. It's funny, the pro card's like halfway there. You guys get a pro card at like an event, and it's cool, but you're like halfway there. At least for like strongman, my understanding.
Mike has gained a lot of attention for these bad calls, and people love to dramatize it for views because he has such a big channel, and because he's such a weird guy, you can take endless things he said out of context to make him seem even weirder. And sometimes,
well, that's like the unfortunate thing is because like what really bothers me about Dr. Mike is I really gravitated towards him because he was the first, I would say like fitness influencer, somebody who is like really big, really smart, really big, really strong, really knowledgeable, to sit down and, you know, make content about fat people that was humanizing. You know, he's like, I understand that it's tough to lose weight. It's simple, but it's tough, and there's a lot of food noise, and it's very difficult, and I get it, and you still want to push to be better, but I do understand it, and you want to make small steps towards, you know, small steps towards success. I respect the fuck out of that. But then when I watched this conversation with Dr. Mike, some of the things that he was saying about genetics and Hitler were just fucking crazy to me. And it was such a turnoff because it seems like there's a mental chain of information that his brain runs down sometimes that feels very unproductive to me. And also he's bald, yeah. So that's what did it for me. You know?
Sometimes just knowing the context makes it worse.
You happen to walk into your bedroom, and there are 3 random waifu Japanese girls that just couldn't wait for you to return.
All right, well now I'm sold back in on Dr. Mike. I'm sold.
Mike is, after all, a smart guy, though. He does have the same education as I do, even putting it one step higher with a PhD. But when it comes to his own body, he makes questionable choices. Mike himself...
It's funny because he loves, he talks about how much he loves Fairlife milk, which me too. And then I saw something, I'm paraphrasing, so... where it was like Fairlifes are like, and maybe it's the protein shakes only, I don't know, are like the least healthy protein shake or something ever. And it's like, well, that's crazy. Although I guess I should have known that, because if you look at Fairlife, like I would, like I'll drink Fairlife milk sometimes, like just all raw. I like it. and you'll put the cup in the sink, and you'll come back tomorrow, and it's like fucking like it's like a thin piece of like plastic paper. It's like, what? That's probably not healthy. You know?
Knows it. Greg's editor definitely knows it. But again, he is just a professor who makes educational content on YouTube, who sometimes says things which are wrong or controversial, and sometimes things that are just straight up weird. And a lot of guys like to grab onto that harder than last time. Even though Mike knows he's gonna get heat for saying a lot of these things that many, myself included, don't necessarily agree on, most of what he says is good stuff. And the guy definitely knows more about physiology than most of fitness YouTube, and probably more than I do. Even though I don't...
Yeah, I mean, that's just gonna happen. People are gonna say some stuff that, you know, maybe isn't necessarily the most, I say concepts too that I don't know, you know, that like change time to time, you know?
I don't think all of his practical takes on
I
training...
mean, he seems like an honest guy. That's the one thing you can say about Dr. Mike. He seems like an honest guy. So I can respect that, you know?
And nutrition are always the best. Still, I do think a lot of his pursuits in bodybuilding and the PEDs have clouded his judgment in quite a few areas, specifically on how he views drugs and medications as tools to build muscle or to get shredded, or how he's willing to go through invasive surgeries to potentially become a better bodybuilder even though he doesn't have the genetics for it. He does talk about
Yeah, wasn't that suck though? Just being completely locked off by genetics. That's fucking brutal, bro.
religion and stuff too, but that's not my field to talk about.
Real life is just filtered milk. Maybe it was the protein shakes then.
I say believe what you want, but don't let that impact others negatively, and it's all good. If you want to believe our Lord and Savior is a big Greek retired weightlifter with the voice of an angel, then that's fine, and possibly ideal. Mike also
This guy always gets memed. It's so funny.
talks about politics, technology, human nature, and such, and my philosophy is stick to what you know. And
Well, that's probably the biggest part that bothers me. I thought I needed a coin. That's the part that probably bothers me more than anything else, is like the way that, especially since the way that he talks about it. It's just, I don't know. I guess it just bothers me a little bit. I don't know. He seems like a Trumper.
okay to not have an opinion about everything, or at least keep them to yourself.
Is that Andrew Tate? No, no way. That being said, I also have the same problem. I'm very opinionated, so it's like, you know, how ironic am I being right now by criticizing him for something I do all the fucking time?
You'll never catch me.
Like, I'm like literally, I mean, I work out, but I'm a fucking, like, I'm like novice level strength, a fat guy watching a video about Dr. Mike Israetel. You know what I mean? Like, that's, the self-awareness is just not, it just doesn't exist. Let's be real.
Rambling about stuff I have little to no knowledge on, because that's for the experts who actually studied it. And I prefer when Mike just talks about training strategies, sport performance, nutrition, and occasionally PEDs for the educational side, just hoping he doesn't glorify them. And a lot of the times, he doesn't. He's very
Yeah, from what I've seen, he doesn't. I've never seen him necessarily glorify. He's more just like talks about them.
open about the effects certain anabolics have on his physical and mental health, and what it takes to pursue a professional bodybuilding career. But I sure as hell hope he doesn't go back there for another try at the pro card, even though that seems to be likely as things are going right now. At the end of the day, we do respect Dr. Mike for his transparency and positive contributions.
Well, I mean, I think it's a great thing that he wants to keep pushing for it. I mean, like, maybe he doesn't have the genetics, but like, why not try and just push for the best version of yourself? Which I feel like is a healthy philosophy fundamentally, especially if you don't have the genetics to be like the best of best in something. It's always good to have like set a more realistic thing, which is like, hey, be the best version of yourself. That might just be a little bit better for you, because maybe you can't be the best at something, which is okay. You know, you can still be good at it. And you know what they say, those who can't do teach. So,
but it's also encouraged to question what we hear from influencers, especially when the lines between science, education, personal obsession,
when did I get fat? I was born fat.
And entertainment do get a bit blurry. Let me know down below what you guys think in the comments though. Are you personally a fan of Dr. Mike and the Renaissance Periodization channel? Do you think he's lost the plot completely, or are people, myself included, over dramatizing his takes and situation? Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.
Well, I mean, I will say I think that at the very least, like this this video made me like kind of reminded me of Dr. Mike a little bit, and maybe like reminisce like in a more positive, productive way. So I guess we could say that, you know. So it made me like him a little bit again, because it's been a while since I've interacted with him, because I was so like turned off by the last thing. So I guess that's something. Am I right?